we're gonna branch out a little bit. And I'm gonna grab this is a number 3 round. You can see it, number 3 round. So I'm gonna use this to sketch sort of the outline of our painting first. Let's get some water. I'm not even gonna wipe it off this time because I want my paint to be pretty thin. And I'm gonna use this. This is our number 2, right? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I'm gonna use our number 2. And I'm gonna add even more water. I'm dipping into my bucket here. So I get a really thin, very light mixture of paint. See how kind of watery and milky it is on the brush. I want that so that I can sketch pretty freely. And let's see, kind of find the basic shape of this fabric. So it comes off onto the edge here. More water. My paints are drying so fast. I hope your wherever you're painting is not as warm. Of course, I'm recording this and it's 106 outside, so my studio is, well, not that well insulated. This thing up here. We'll adjust things as we go. I just want a general layout. So remember when you're sketching, especially from still life, anything like this, you want to spend just as much time looking at your image as you do sketching. Yeah, I think that's a fine place to start. We'll adjust things as we go. Okay. Clean out that brush. Nice and good. I'm gonna leave it there. Oops, spilled a little water. That's okay. And let's see. I'm still going to start with my biggest brush, my number 10 flat brush. That's my go-to brush. If you start out with a small brush to begin with, not only are you going to be focused on details that don't matter, you're going to waste a ton of time trying to cover large areas like this background. If I were to use this is my number 3 flat brush. Imagine trying to cover this entire background. It would take forever. This is a much more efficient way to do it. Okay, so let's look at our reference image. The background is mid-tone. It looks to me like it's leaning more towards our cool side. So I'm going to grab this, add some water to it to thin it out. Especially on our first pass, the first time we go over something, we don't need the paint to be very thick. You can put it on kind of fast. It can be sort of loose. And the paint can be thin. I might not have mixed enough paint here. Well, we'll see. When it's this watered down and this thin, it'll dry quickly, so we can go over things pretty soon. We'll be able to adjust things. All right. So remember, the same principles as that we learned last week apply here. Large shapes first. Biggest areas, we're just going to simplify things to begin with. So we knocked out that big area. Now I'm looking at the table top, and that's a little higher in value, so I'm going to go with this number 2 in our value scale. It's our warm gray. Okay. Next biggest shape, I think I want to deal with this fabric. I'm going to go really simple with it. Go ahead and wash your brush again when you're changing, especially when you're changing between warm and cool colors. Let's try to keep them separated for now. So the fabric in here is definitely cool. It's not, overall, I would say it's this number 5. There are parts of it that could be this 6, but let's start with this. And, I've said it 100 times, don't get too precious about anything. Just let it be. We're just blocking in shapes at this point. We're not ready to really build our still life yet. We're just trying to establish the shapes, establish the basic depth. Okay. Let's clean out our brush again. Now, what's the next largest shape? I think it's all the highlighted areas, all the areas of light on our still life objects. Let's start, kind of want to go with this number 2. That way, I can see by looking at the image that there are some lighter areas, namely these, what I would call the highlights, top of here, here, here. But there are fewer of those. There's more of this sort of mid-tone that's happening. So let's put all of that info in. And look at how imperfect my shape is. I'm just really not worried about that yet. So sometimes painting can be fast, can be loose, and it's all just about your expectations. Learning to let go of what you think your painting should look like. You can never know what is going to work and what won't work until you do it. So keeping your expectations sort of in check, so like not letting your expectations dictate what you do, I think is just a really good policy for a painter. You have to be open to what's really happening, not what you think should happen. And then you got to let go sometimes and just let things be what they're going to be. Now I'm kind of blocking in some of the angles on this thing. I really love this shape. Okay, make sure you're not leaving any white space between your paint, even at this stage. It's okay if there's a little bit, as long as you cover it up later. Now look how fast we got through that first layer.